Lila's family had gone bankrupt. Watching her being ridiculed and mocked by everyone, I shoved the $3,000 I'd saved for years into her hand. It was only later that I found out. Her family was just restructuring their assets for an IPO. Lila, wait up. I mustered my courage and called out to her, jogging to catch up. Lila lowered her head, her beautiful, clear face filled with impatience. Lila's family had gone bankrupt, and at the class reunion just now, our classmates had been openly and covertly mocking her, especially some of the girls who used to chase after her. Now that they knew she was broke, it was as if they wanted to get back at her for all the times she'd rejected them. Seeing the girl who was once as high and untouchable as the moon fall to earth wasn't enough for many. They wanted to stomp her into the ground, to see her covered in mud. The boys who once had secret crushes on Lila now avoided her like the plague. The sight of the graceful Lila in front of me made my heart ache. She must be so sad, right? We were about to graduate, and what was supposed to be a path of starlight was now likely a muddy, difficult road. I'd heard from classmates that her family's house had been seized, and they might soon be homeless. I pulled a bank card from my pocket and pressed it into her hand. Her hand was soft and a little cold. The moment our fingers touched, I couldn't help but blush. What is this? Lila's impatience vanished, replaced by a look of confusion. It's $3,000. The pin is 123456. It's not much, but it's a token of my goodwill. Lila, I believe you can definitely get through this. Lila looked at me in disbelief, her eyes filled with confusion, bewilderment, and a sense of being lost. I took a deep breath and stepped forward to hug her. I'd heard that when someone is sad, an encouraging hug can be very comforting. I put one arm around her shoulder and gently patted her back with the other. It's okay. The hard times will pass. Lila seemed very tense, her body stiff and unmoving. I rested my head on her shoulder and continued to encourage her. When I was in high school, my family went bankrupt too. We moved from a mansion to a small place in the suburbs. Our whole family squeezed into a room smaller than our old bathroom. The house got smaller, but people got closer. My parents used to fight every day, but now that we have no money, their relationship is actually much better. If you have any difficulties in the future, you can come to me. I don't have much money, but I'll do my best to help you. As I finished, I looked up at her with determination. I'd been caught in the rain before, so I wanted to hold an umbrella for her. Lila looked down at me, dazed. In the past, she was always proud, cold, and indifferent. Today, she looked particularly dazed. My heart ached for her even more. Seeing her was like seeing my past self. I raised my hand and gently stroked her head. Her hair was so soft, the strands fine and silky to the touch. You've got this, Lila. I gave her my brightest smile. Lila's pupils contracted suddenly, and a blush spread across her fair, beautiful face like a vibrant sunset. She must be uncomfortable being comforted by a guy like this. I waved and quickly walked away. Graduation was just around the corner, and I had to hurry up and find a higher-paying job. Back in the dorm, my roommates were all talking about Lila. What terrible luck. I pursued her for 4 years, 4 whole years. I thought I could marry into a wealthy family after graduation, and then she goes bankrupt, said my roommate Jake. Jake was handsome and glib. He had spent all 4 years of college orbiting Lila, vowing to win her over. Actually, even without the money, Lila is still very beautiful. I couldn't help but interject. Jake rolled his eyes. Noah, wake up. Love without a material foundation is like a house of cards. One gust of wind, and it's gone. Besides, a princess like Lila, so pampered and spoiled, she probably can't even support herself without her rich girl halo. I fell silent. Lila wasn't as bad as they made her out to be. She might seem cold and proud, but she was actually a very kind person. She had helped me before. During the winter break of our sophomore year, I was working as a waiter at a high-end restaurant in downtown Chicago, shivering at the door in a thin shirt and vest. Lila and her family came for dinner and saw me. A little while later, she came out of their private room and handed me a cup of hot cocoa. That was one of the few moments of warmth I felt in that cold winter. I slapped my cheeks and went back to sending out resumes. Graduation was in a month, and I still hadn't found a job or a place to live. Although my family's financial situation had been tough since the bankruptcy, I felt much happier. My dad was no longer out all the time, and my mom stopped playing mahjong every day. Now our whole family was working hard to earn money. We had already moved from the suburbs to an old neighborhood on the south side. The apartment wasn't big, just a small 600 square foot two-bedroom, but we had become a perfectly ordinary family of three. Thinking of my parents in the next city overfilled me with motivation. Have you found a job yet? As I was sending out resumes, I received a message from Lila on Facebook. She had also sent me a job posting link for a very well-known company in the city. The benefits were great, but of course, the competition was fierce. This company is good. You should give it a try. Lila was such a good person. Even when she was struggling herself, she still thought to forward a good job opportunity to me. I was a little touched, but the requirements for this company were very high, and my chances of getting an interview were slim. However, since Lila had sent it to me, I decided to give it a shot anyway. Congratulations, Noah. You're hired. When's the earliest you can start? I looked at the HR manager's enthusiastic face and felt like the world had gone mad. A monthly salary of $8,000, weekends off, and a 15-month salary structure. I was just interviewing for a marketing director's assistant position. Why were the benefits so ridiculously good? After signing the contract, the HR manager handed me a confidentiality agreement stating that employee salaries were confidential and not to be discussed. I walked out of the company in a daze, feeling like a giant pie had fallen from the sky and landed right on my head. The pies weren't done falling yet. A real estate agent called me, saying he had a perfect apartment for me. The landlord had high standards, so the price was very cheap. Looking at the exquisitely decorated two-bedroom apartment before me, my eyes nearly popped out of my head. How much did you say? $2,000 a month, utilities included? This location, this decor, it should be at least $6,000 a month. Tell me the truth. Why is it so cheap? I felt there was something strange about this apartment. The pie was too big. I was afraid it was bait. The agent looked troubled, but after a moment's hesitation, he told me the truth. During the renovation, a construction worker had accidentally fallen from the balcony and died on the spot. The landlord felt it was bad luck and wanted to rent it out to bring some life back into the place. That's fine. He didn't mind that I was poor, so why should I mind that it was unlucky? I signed the lease with peace of mind, feeling as if two of life's major problems had been solved at once. The apartment was close to my new job, with a subway station right at the entrance to the complex, just a two-stop ride to the office. After being battered by fate for several years, Lady Luck was finally starting to smile on me. On my first day of work, I finally met my direct supervisor, the marketing director Megan. It was actually Megan. On the surface I was calm, but my hands clenched involuntarily. Megan was my neighbor in high school, for years my senior. When I was in high school, she was already in college. She was the flutter in my heart during my youth. At the time, our parents even joked about us getting married after I graduated from college. Later, when my family had financial trouble, her family immediately distanced themselves, terrified my dad would come asking for a loan. Megan blocked me on Facebook, and we lost contact from then on. So many years had passed. Her youthful beauty had matured into polished competence. The gold-rimmed glasses she wore added a touch of intellectual charm. Noah, what a coincidence. Seeing her outstretched hand, I bowed. Director Megan, I'll be your assistant from now on. Please guide me. Megan smiled. Noah, you haven't changed a bit after all these years. Come on, I'll show you around the company. I followed closely behind Megan, hiding all my emotions. At the conference table, Megan pointed to my pen. Assistant Noah, may I borrow your pen? As I handed it to her, Megan's fingertips brushed across the back of my hand, and she even gave my hand a little squeeze. Feeling the warmth from her fingers, I looked up and met Megan's ambiguous gaze. Could she possibly think I still had a crush on her? A teenage crush is thinner than a piece of paper, easily torn. Right now, all I wanted to do was work hard and provide a better life for my family. As I was leaving work, I saw a tall, slender figure in the distance. As I got closer, I saw it was Lila. Lila, what are you doing here? I ran towards her happily. It was all thanks to her that I'd found such a great job. I was just passing by. Lila looked at me nonchalantly, but her ears were red. Thank you for recommending the job. Have you eaten? How about I treat you to dinner? She glanced at me and nodded indifferently. Sure. I've got nothing else to do anyway. Just then, a Porsche drove past me. The window rolled down, and Megan smiled and called out to me. Noah, where do you live? I can give you a ride home. Thank you, Director Megan, but I have dinner plans with a friend. I won't trouble you. Megan's gaze made me uncomfortable. I grabbed Lila's hand and turned to leave. Lila had a stern look on her face and kept looking back at Megan. Noah, who is she? I put food on Lila's plate while telling her the story of me and Megan. Can you believe how small the world is? She's my direct boss now. Lila frowned. If you don't like her, do you want to switch jobs? What are you talking about? It's not that easy to find a job these days. I smiled, not taking Lila's words to heart. Once she's been polished by the real world for a while, she'll understand how hard it is to survive. Lila sighed. Yeah, jobs are hard to find, and so are apartments. If I can't find a place soon, I'll be sleeping on the streets. Sleeping on the streets? I looked at Lila sympathetically. What about your parents? Lila put down her chopsticks and leaned back in her chair, looking dejected. They went back to our hometown in the countryside. Now I'm all alone in this city. Alone, just like me. My heart ached for her even more. Bankruptcy, her house seized, and now her parents were leaving. How difficult must it be for Lila? Thinking of my own empty two-bedroom apartment, I tentatively asked, I have a spare room. Do you want to move in with me? Lila looked at me hesitantly, her eyes filled with nervous uncertainty. Would that be inconvenient? I gave her a reassuring smile. Not at all. It's a two-bedroom apartment anyway. I was planning on finding a roommate, so you'd be perfect. Hearing the word roommate, Lila's eyes darkened slightly. Then let's go. Huh. I don't have a place to stay tonight. Seeing Lila's aggrieved expression, a wave of sourness washed over me. She too had once spent money like water, been the center of attention, admired by everyone. Now she had to live under someone else's roof. Let's go to the supermarket. I'll take you to buy some daily necessities. I secretly resolved to be kinder to Lila, even kinder, to let her know that society wasn't just about worldliness and indifference. When you hit rock bottom, when you're mocked, despised, and forgotten, there will always be someone to give you strength and walk with you. After buying toothbrushes, towels, and other toiletries, we moved on to quilts, bed sheets, pajamas, slippers, and all the other household items. Lila was excitedly picking out shampoo and facial cleanser, showing no signs of dejection or shame. She really was a good person, even better than I had imagined. Probably before today, she had never even heard of the brands of shampoo and cleanser in the supermarket. To not complain or feel sorry for herself in such a predicament made me admire Lila even more. I remembered when my family went bankrupt. My clothes went from costing thousands of dollars apiece to $10 items from street stalls. I was sad for a long time and cried in my room. After buying them, I felt like my life, just like those clothes, had gone from being a luxury brand to a street stall. Hey Noah, what color are your slippers? White. Then I'll get white ones too. Lila held a pair of plastic slippers on sale for $9.99, her face beaming with excitement. Most people would have the same reaction buying an Hermes bag. I couldn't help but smile. Lila, welcome to my world. By the time Lila and I finished setting up her room and arranging her things, it was already late at night. Lila was curled up on the sofa, her stomach growling. Her face turned slightly red as she looked at me, pretending to be calm. I didn't eat enough for dinner. I burst out laughing. The Lila I remembered, so proud, cold, and aloof, could blush so easily. You wait, I'll go make you a bowl of noodles. I turned and walked to the kitchen. The kitchen had a floor-to-ceiling glass door that acted like a mirror. In the blurry reflection, did I just see Lila pumping her fist in excitement? She was probably just swatting a mosquito. I must have seen it wrong. There was some leftover beef brisket in the fridge from yesterday. I sliced the brisket and stir-fried it until fragrant, then fried a golden brown egg. A simple bowl of braised beef noodle soup was ready. Lila sat at the table, staring blankly, not eating, just gazing at the bowl of noodles in front of her. The steam swirled around, making her beautiful face look dreamlike in the mist. What's wrong? Eat it while it's hot. Through the steam rising from the bowl, Lila looked up and stared at me intently. Under her gaze, my face started to burn, and my eyes began to dart around. Why was Lila staring at me so intently? It was so embarrassing. Eating the noodles one bite at a time, carefully and seriously, Lila's expression could almost be described as reverent, as if she wasn't eating the few dollar bag of noodles I bought from the supermarket, but an expensive delicacy from a Michelin-starred restaurant. I rested my chin on my hand and watched Lila. The once empty apartment had become lively and filled with a sense of home because of her. This is what they call peaceful years. The next morning, when I got up for work, Lila's door was still closed. I made a simple sandwich, poured a glass of milk, left it on the dining table, and rushed off to work. The days with someone by my side were filled with a touch of happiness amidst the busyness. Breakfast is on the table. Remember to eat it when you wake up. After sending the message with a silly grin on my face, I suddenly realized that the message sounded like something a husband would send to his wife. By the time I clocked in and sat at my desk, my face was still red, which made Megan look at me suspiciously several times. The marketing department was very busy, with endless reports and proposals to sort through. I was so busy I didn't even have time to look at my phone. It wasn't until after work that I saw a message from Lila on my phone. I found a job. I'll treat you to dinner after work. Are you not off work yet? I'm waiting for you downstairs at your company. I packed up my things and was about to leave when Megan walked over. She tapped my desk lightly with her hand. Let's go. I'll treat you to dinner and go over some company matters with you. I'm sorry, Director Megan. I already have plans with a friend. Megan tossed her hair, a look of displeasure on her face. Assistant Noah, this is the second time you've rejected your boss. What, got a girlfriend? She leaned down to look at me, her narrow phoenix eyes filled with dissatisfaction. I put the files in the drawer and stood up. Director Megan, I'm sorry. I really have plans with a friend today. Maybe some other time. Megan's gaze was direct and unflinching, making me very uncomfortable. The salary for this job was a rare opportunity for me, and I didn't want to lose it, nor did I want to have any interaction with Megan outside of work. When I rushed downstairs, Lila was already waiting at the entrance. Seeing her tall figure, I smoothed my hair, slowed my pace, and walked towards her. Have you been waiting long? Lila's ears were red, and she broke into a brilliant smile. Let's go. I'll treat you to hot pot. Lila said she also found a well-paying job, but it was a bit tough and often required overtime. She was an assistant to the general manager of a large company, and her boss was particularly fierce, scolding people every day. Apparently, everyone in the office was as quiet as a mouse when they saw the boss, like they'd seen a ghost. As I bit into a shrimp ball, I listened to Lila vividly describe her office life, and my heart overflowed with joy. It was great that Lila had found a job too. She wasn't defeated by these setbacks. She didn't wallow in self-pity. Instead, she was living seriously, working hard, and bravely accepting the heavy blows fate had dealt her. Lila was truly remarkable. After dinner, Lila insisted on dragging me shopping, saying that since I was working now, I needed to buy some good shaving cream and skincare products. I desperately refused. Good skincare products were expensive. Although my salary was higher now, I still needed to save money to help my family buy a house, so I definitely couldn't splurge on my face. If you must get me something, just get me a bottle of aftershave. Nothing else. I felt like ever since graduation, Lady Luck had taken up residence in my home and started to favor me frequently. Congratulations, sir. You are our 1,000th customer. To thank all our customers for their support, we are gifting you a men's skincare and grooming set. Please sign here. The sales associate enthusiastically wrapped the 2 boxes and handed them to me. I stood there, holding the skincare products worth a 5-figure sum, questioning my reality. I had never heard of this brand giving away free gift sets. Had I been out of the upper-class loop for too long and couldn't understand the marketing strategies of big brands anymore? Seeing me standing there in a daze, Lila took the bags from me and smiled, ruffling my hair. Not bad, Noah. You're a real lucky star. I looked at Lila and smiled foolishly. Maybe my luck was finally turning around. Lila was truly my lucky star. After a bit of shopping, we went home. Lila went to take a shower, and I put away our things and went to the balcony to collect the laundry. This was an older apartment complex, and the clotheslines on the balcony were fixed, not the retractable kind. I looked everywhere for the clothes pole, but couldn't find it. Strange, it was always on the balcony. I had no choice but to grab a stool and stand on it to get the clothes. I had just taken down 2 shirts when I felt a force from behind. Lila had lifted me straight off the stool by my waist, her pretty face serious. Noah, that's too dangerous. From now on, I'll take care of the laundry. I was still holding my t-shirt, looking at Lila's face so close to mine. I felt like my heart was about to leap out of my throat. You can put me down. I whispered, my voice barely louder than a mosquito's. Lila's arms were slender but surprisingly strong. One hand supported my back, and the other held my arm firmly. In the summer, our clothes were thin, and her body heat transferred to me through her pajamas, carrying a startling warmth. The parts of my back and arm that her hands touched felt as if they had been branded. This was the first time a girl had ever held me like this. It was so embarrassing. I rushed back to my room with the clothes, my face red. After closing the door, I leaned against it, gasping for breath. Once my racing heart calmed down a bit, I went into the bathroom and saw a completely unfamiliar version of myself. The boy in the mirror had a flushed face, the corners of his eyes tinged with pink. His eyes were watery, and the corners of his mouth were turned up uncontrollably. His whole face was a picture of shy, spring-like bloom. I had thought my feelings for Lila were gratitude, understanding, and sympathy, but could it be love? I took out my phone and messaged my good friend Tom. He was a love expert, having had 10 girlfriends so far, with the goal of collecting all 12 zodiac signs. Tom, if a girl holds you and your heart starts beating really fast, and you get nervous, does that mean you like her? Is she pretty? The reply was instant. I thought about Lila's face, as pretty as a movie star. That's normal. Who wouldn't get nervous being held by a beauty? Everyone's the same. It's just lust at first sight. I thought what Tom said made a lot of sense. A woman as beautiful as Lila would make anyone's head spin. My parents were still waiting for me in that small, old apartment. Right now, I shouldn't be thinking about anything other than working hard and making money. I woke up with a flushed face, having had an indescribable dream all night. The dream was so vivid that I couldn't even look Lila in the eye in the morning. Noah, wake up. Spring is over. When I rushed to the office, the HR manager brought in a new employee, saying he would be joining the marketing department. I looked up and saw a handsome, tall man standing before me. When he caught my eye, he even gave me a wink. It was Jake. In the break room, Jake excitedly grabbed my hand. This is great, Noah. I can't believe we're working at the same company. How did you get into this company? It's notoriously hard to get into. My girlfriend had to pull a lot of strings to get me in. Jake was as enthusiastic as ever. He said his girlfriend knew the daughter of the company's chairman and had asked for a favor to get him in. You have a girlfriend? Jake touched the expensive watch on his wrist, a hint of showing off on his face, but his words were casual. Oh, her? She's not that rich, just a few properties and some shops. I guess her family's worth is in the tens of millions, but she's quite generous to me. I smiled silently. A person like Jake would never let himself have a bad life. When I got off work, Lila was waiting at the entrance again. Just as I was about to go up to her, Jake followed. Seeing Lila and me, Jake was shocked. Noah, you too? He looked from Lila to me, then rushed over, pulled me aside, and poked my head with his finger. Noah, are you and Lila together? You can't let beauty cloud your judgment. Lila is gorgeous, I'll give you that. Jake even turned to look Lila up and down before turning back to me with a sigh of regret. I admit it's hard to refuse a woman who looks like that, but we have to eat, Noah. A decent apartment in this city costs $5,000 or $6,000 per square foot. You can't get married and have kids in a rental, can you? I chuckled and pushed his hand away. No, it's not like that. Lila's family is having financial trouble, and she has nowhere to live, so we're just roommates. Roommates? Jake gasped. A single man and a single woman, young and full of passion, sparks flying. You're doomed, Noah. You'll lose your innocence sooner or later. I glanced back and saw Lila frowning impatiently. Jake, I'm leaving now. We can talk more at work tomorrow. I jogged over to Lila and looked up at her. Her frown immediately relaxed. Why are you here? Let's go grocery shopping. What do you like to eat? I'll make you a few of my best dishes. Lila looked at me with a silly grin, her dark pupils shining brightly in the setting sun. I like whatever you cook. Her sweet voice carried a hint of gentleness, and a smile spread across my face instantly. My heart started to pound uncontrollably again. Lila had been saying strange things lately. At the market, we went to a vegetable stall. The owner was a young woman in her 30s, who greeted us with great enthusiasm. Oh, what a handsome young couple. You look so good together. What are you buying? I'll give you a 20% discount. I blushed and quickly waved my hands. We're not a couple, we're friends. Just then, an auntie pushing a cart full of seafood passed by and almost hit me. Lila pulled me into her arms, one hand protecting my back, the other around my waist. Our eyes met, and both of our faces turned red. Ah, so sweet. Your eyes are practically sparkling at each other, just like a couple in love. We quickly separated. I was so flustered that I didn't know what to do with my hands and feet. The vegetable stall lady was still shouting. Here, I'll give you a bag of tomatoes. These tomatoes are as sweet as you too. That evening, Lila and I ate dinner in silence. I put a piece of scrambled eggs with tomato into my bowl and couldn't help but look at Lila. Our eyes met, and I quickly looked down, so nervous that I choked. Cough, cough. Lila rushed over and patted my back, handing me a glass of water. Noah, are you okay? I coughed until tears came to my eyes. After taking a few sips of water, I was about to say I was fine when I realized how close Lila was. She was tall and was leaning over me, looking at me with concern. One of her hands was still on my back, her palm warm. Her breath fanned across my face, carrying a faint, pleasant scent, like roses in a garden after the rain. How could someone's breath smell so good? I couldn't help but lean in and take a gentle sniff. Lila seemed startled by my action and froze. Her eyelashes were so long, casting a shadow on her face. My gaze traveled from her deep eyes down to her straight nose, the beautifully curved lips, the small, delicate chin, and then down to her fair neck. At that moment, I thought I saw her throat move slightly. Ring, ring. The sudden ringing of my phone shattered the thick, sweet air. Lila and I quickly turned away, both taking deep breaths. I looked at my phone. It was Jake. I need to take this call. I clutched my wildly beating heart and ran into my room. Hello, Jake. The sound of my own voice startled me. It was low, husky, and so full of ambiguity that it felt like it could be stretched into a silken thread. Holy crap, were you two making out? I cleared my throat. What are you talking about? We were just having dinner. Don't lie to me, Noah. Do you like Lila? Do I like Lila? I touched my chest. Something was churning and clamoring inside, screaming to break free. I'm not sure. At first, I just felt sorry for her, thought she was pitiful. Then I started to admire her, thought she was respectable. And sometimes I think she's really cute. Is that considered liking someone? Jake's clear voice came through the phone. No, that's not just liking someone. Liking someone isn't scary. What's scary is when a man starts to pity and feel sorry for a woman. You've fallen in love with Lila, Noah. You're done for. You've fallen head over heels in love. I came out of my room in a daze and sat down at the table to continue eating, my face flushed. Lila was no longer in the room. It seemed she had gone out for something. I ate my dinner like a zombie, my mind filled with Jake's words. You've fallen head over heels in love. Just then, a message from Lila came in. Noah, something came up at home. I won't be back tonight. Lock the door. You don't have to wait for me. I closed the door with a sense of disappointment, wondering what had happened at Lila's home. The next day, I arrived at the company with 2 huge dark circles under my eyes, only to be told that I had to go on a business trip to Chicago for a week. Go home and pack your bags. The flight is at 11 a.m., so hurry up. I rushed home, packed my things, and sat in the car with Jake on the way to the airport. The marketing department in Chicago was facing a major crisis. Several sales departments were being besieged by people claiming there were serious quality issues with the products. Megan was taking me, Jake, and another female colleague on the trip. On the way, while worrying about the company's situation, I felt a sense of loss in my heart. I wouldn't be able to see Lila for a week. Thinking of this, I took out my phone and sent Lila a message. Lila, something urgent came up at work. I have to go to Chicago for a week. My flight leaves at noon. Is everything okay at home? During the 1-hour car ride, I checked my phone 100 times, but it remained silent. No calls, no messages. I listlessly followed Megan and the others towards the boarding gate. Just then, an urgent female voice called, Noah. I looked in the direction of the voice and saw Lila running towards me. Her fair, beautiful face was flushed from running. Her long, smooth hair was a bit messy, and there were beads of sweat on her brow. She finally caught her breath when she reached me, her features relaxing into a brilliant smile, her eyes sparkling like a galaxy of stars. I stared at Lila, completely captivated. You're supposed to be at work. What are you doing at the airport? Lila looked at me intently, her gaze filled with an indescribable tenderness. I just wanted to see you off. Just then, Megan walked over. Noah, don't dawdle. It's time to board. At her signal, Jake also came over to pull me along. All right, let's go. We'll miss the flight if we don't hurry. I was pulled along by Jake, looking back every 3 steps. Go back, Lila. Jake kept looking back at Lila while pulling me. Anyone who didn't know better would think this was some life or death parting. They should have cast you two in Titanic. Jack and Rose would be ashamed of their farewell scene. Oh, Noah, a beauty's favor is the hardest to refuse. I can't believe Lila is so good at this. No wonder you're willing to jump into the fire pit. It's impossible to resist. If she had looked at me like that back then, my kid would be old enough to buy soy sauce by now. On the plane, Jake sat next to me, tossing and turning like a pancake, muttering to himself, I'm not envious. I'm not envious. Money is still better. It's better to cry in a BMW than to laugh on a bicycle, especially when you have kids. Good looks can't be exchanged for formula and diapers, and no matter how good-looking someone is, they'll still get old. But then again, you only live once. You can't take money with you when you die. Spending a lifetime with a woman this beautiful, just thinking about it makes me want to eat an extra bowl of rice. I looked at him, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He seemed more invested in this drama than I was, the actual person involved. As I was about to fasten my seatbelt, Megan came over and swapped seats with Jake. The spacious area suddenly felt cramped. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep. Megan's low voice sounded in my ear. A girlfriend? I hear her family is bankrupt. Noah, after all these years, you're still so naive. Director Megan, this is my private matter. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with you, does it? Your assistant position only pays $7,000 or $8,000 a month. That's barely enough to support yourself. What? You're dreaming of supporting a woman too. I turned my head away and didn't speak, but my mind was filled with questions. 7 or 8,000. My salary was clearly $8,000 a month. Why would Megan say it was only 7 or 8,000? The summer in Chicago wasn't as hot as in the South. My mind was split in two, half on work and half already flown back to Lila. Megan's gaze on me grew increasingly dissatisfied. After she reprimanded me once, I pulled back all my thoughts and threw myself into my work. After several days of overtime, we finally resolved the matter successfully. Megan took us out for a celebration dinner. Everyone had a little to drink at the table. She said she had something to talk to me about, so I followed her to the park across from the hotel. Noah, I know about your situation. It must be tiring, working so hard on your own, right? Behind her glasses, Megan's eyes flickered with a mix of probing and a sense of victory. I just felt an indescribable annoyance. Megan, what are you trying to say? Megan looked at me, her eyes dark. Noah, not long after your family had trouble, my family went bankrupt too, right after I graduated. I wanted to find you then, but I was struggling to take care of myself. By the time I got back on my feet, so much time had passed, and I had lost all contact with you. It wasn't until I met you again that I realized I had never forgotten you. I can give you a better life. I can buy you an apartment in this city. You wouldn't even have to work anymore. I looked up at her familiar, yet strange face. The crush I once had had long since faded into the river of time. Now my soul and my thoughts were filled with only Lila. I have a girlfriend, and I love her very much, Director Megan. I'm not feeling well. I'm going back to rest. From behind me, I heard Megan's unwilling voice. Noah, you'll regret this. I'll be waiting for you to come back and beg me. As I dragged my exhausted body off the plane, I saw a fashionably dressed man at the arrival gate. He was decked out in designer brands, with a meticulously styled haircut. His delicate features looked quite distinguished against the backdrop of the luxury brands. When he saw Jake and me, his eyes darkened, and he was clearly surprised to see me. Honey, is this your star employee? Since we ran into each other, why don't you bring them along to the dinner party tonight? Consider it a reward for your staff. Seeing Megan's embarrassed expression, I suddenly understood, so she was already married. Huh, and I thought she was trying to pursue me. Turns out she just wanted to keep me as a lover. How disgusting. Jake secretly rolled his eyes. Director Megan, maybe we shouldn't intrude. The chairman of your company is my uncle. What I say in this company carries more weight than your director, Megan. The man raised his eyebrows, looking at Jake and me arrogantly. Oh, Mrs. Megan's husband. In that case, we'd be honored to accept. I secretly admired Jake for his ability to change his tune faster than he changed his clothes. My name is Marcus. Marcus tilted his head back proudly, took Megan's arm, and walked away, not forgetting to call back to us. Keep up. I'll show you what's what tonight. Jake and I sat in a taxi following Megan and Marcus's car. I thought Megan was some business elite, but it turns out she got here through connections. This Marcus guy is trying to intimidate us, to show us the gap between us and make us back off. It's the curse of being a handsome man, to be so misunderstood. Jake took out a mirror to fix his hair while chattering away at me. I absent-mindedly took out my phone and saw a message from Lila. Sorry I couldn't pick you up from the airport. I have something at work tonight, so I'll be back late. Wait for me at home. I have a gift for you. Was Lila going to confess to me tonight? If she didn't, it wouldn't be out of the question for me to confess first. I pressed my phone to my chest, feeling the love in my heart surge and overflow. Jake looked at my silly grin and said sourly, Noah, you'd better think this through. Lila is beautiful, but with your salaries, buying a house and a car will be your life's achievement. You can forget about mansions, luxury cars, and designer goods. I never needed those things anyway. It's great to work hard together through thick and thin. We'll be fine. You're lovesick. Get a grip. Jake poked my head with his long, thin finger, his eyes a mix of envy and worry. Marcus's house was in a villa district, decorated in a splendid and magnificent style. He gave us a tour, as if to show off, then had the servants take us to a guest room to change, saying he had prepared formal wear for us. Looking at the luxurious guest room, Jake's eyes turned red with envy. My God, Megan really married into a rich family. How do people find such good husbands? Her eyes are so sharp. I thought about what Megan had said last night. So she was planning on using her husband's money to keep a lover. How shameless. Marcus called me into his room alone, saying he had something to say to me. So you're Megan's first love? Seeing his unfriendly expression, I was completely confused. Don't pretend. I saw your high school photo in Megan's house. She's kept it very well. Mr. Marcus, whether you believe me or not, we were just neighbors. And after I moved, we never contacted each other again. Nothing happened before, and nothing will happen in the future. I said, looking at Marcus seriously, word by word. He sneered dismissively. I hear your family went bankrupt. Now you're working as an assistant. Although we're worlds apart, like clouds and mud, young men these days, especially those from poor families, are crawling with ambition and desire. He looked me up and down, a flash of jealousy in his eyes. After tomorrow, I don't want to see you in this company again. I was beginning to understand why Jake was so desperate to climb the social ladder. A poor person's efforts are like bubbles, beautiful and dreamlike, but with a gentle poke from a rich person, they burst. I sighed and stood up, looking at Marcus. Mr. Marcus, I can leave right now. No, you can't. You have to stay for the dinner party tonight. I want to show you what it means to be blinded by wealth. If you're lucky with your looks, you might catch the eye of some rich older woman and become her boy toy. Then you can go from rags to riches. Seeing Marcus cover his mouth and laugh affectedly, I couldn't take it anymore and walked towards the door. If you leave now, you can take that Jake with you when you resign tomorrow. The man's indifferent voice came from behind me, his light tone carrying an undeniable authority. Thinking of how excited Jake was about getting this job, the fist I had clenched loosened. I'll go change. I'll submit my resignation tomorrow as you wish, Mr. Marcus. In the guest room, Jake was still excitedly choosing his clothes. That Marcus guy sent over 2 suits. Do you like the white one or the black one? Black is handsome, white is classy. Why don't we try them both? Aren't you upset he brought us here with bad intentions? I couldn't help but ask, looking at the enthusiastic Jake. Upset about what? If he wants to show off his wealth, let him. The food at the dinner party must be top-notch. I just want to stuff my face. If I had to pay for a ticket, it would probably cost tens of thousands. Now I get to go for free. Why wouldn't I be happy? Jake had already changed into the black suit, his broad shoulders and narrow waist making him look tall and straight. He twirled around in front of the mirror, mesmerized. Ah, what a handsome man. I couldn't help but smile. The dinner party was held at a high-end private club in a famous scenic area in our city, giving it a sense of great hermit in the city's inn. As soon as we entered the banquet hall, Jake's eyes went wide. He squeezed my hand tightly. Oh my God, so many beautiful women. No, so many millionaire older women. Oh, I found a girlfriend too early. Marcus stood to the side, his expression arrogant. There are no millionaire older women here tonight. If your assets are less than 100 million, you're not qualified to enter. I brought you two in, so stick close to me and don't embarrass me. Marcus tilted his head up, glanced at us, and walked away with a sway in his hips. The lights were dazzling, the atmosphere decadent. I looked at this overly luxurious place and felt like I didn't belong. The world was theirs, and I had nothing. They say all roads lead to Rome, but some people are born in Rome. What ordinary people strive for their entire lives, they have from birth. This was not a world I should be in. Thinking about my job, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. Lila was the one who got me this job. I didn't know how I was going to tell her I was resigning. In the end, it was all just a fleeting dream. Hello, I've been noticing you for a while, handsome young man. Can I get your Facebook? A young woman in an evening gown stood beside me. She was probably in her early 30s, with a voluptuous figure and exquisite makeup, but her eyes held a hint of frivolity. After I politely refused, she still forcefully stuffed her business card into my hand before turning to leave. Marcus sidled up to me. That was a Harrison, a cousin connected to the Harrison Group. A little bit of what she has would be enough for you to live on for the rest of your life. You really have no taste. She was also a Harrison? The Harrison Group. Jake also came over to gossip. It's normal that you haven't heard of them. The Harrison Group is very low-key. They have numerous companies, and the person in charge has always been behind the scenes. They are the real wealthy family. The combined wealth of everyone here probably wouldn't even match the Harrisons. No one knows exactly how many businesses they own. Jake's mouth hung open in shock. Wow, is this like the chaebols in Korean dramas? Marcus nodded proudly. Something like that. The second daughter of the Harrison Group is coming tonight. You're lucky to be able to witness what a true heiress is like. Just then, there was a commotion at the entrance. A group of men in black suits surrounded a young woman and walked in with great fanfare. The second daughter of the Harrison family is here. Marcus's slightly excited voice sounded. Jake and I looked intently. The woman before us was wearing a long black dress, her figure tall and slender. Her deep-set features and sharp eyes gave her an air of nonchalant confidence as she strode forward, carrying an aura of invincibility. I had never seen such a dazzling Lila. She stood there, her face wearing the familiar expression of impatience and indifference, but it was as if she had her own spotlight, so beautiful that it was impossible to look away. People scrambled to get closer, their expressions a mix of flattery and envy. Lila! A shriek came from beside me. It was Jake's high-pitched male voice. Everyone turned to look at us. I just stood there quietly looking at Lila. Her radiance was as brilliant as the full moon in the sky. There were many people between us, like a whole galaxy, a chasm I could never cross, a gulf I could never bridge in my lifetime. Lila's expression changed instantly. Her nonchalant face showed a hint of panic and nervousness. I took a step back, then turned and ran. No. Lila had long legs and a big stride. She caught up to me in a few steps, grabbed my arm, and pulled me into her embrace. She held my shoulders firmly and explained, Noah, let me explain. The crowd, realizing what was happening, erupted in a clamor that threatened to lift the roof. Jake and Marcus stood there with their eyes wide and mouths agape, their shock so extreme they had forgotten to control their expressions. I looked up with red-rimmed eyes, my thoughts in a turmoil. The low rent of $2,000, the ridiculous monthly salary, and the inexplicably expensive skincare products, all had a reasonable explanation. Now, Lila, you. Before I could finish, tears were already streaming down my face. My heart was a mix of sourness and bitterness, 7 parts anger, 3 parts disappointment, and 3 parts relief. I was angry that Lila had lied to me, relieved that Lila's family hadn't gone bankrupt and she still had a bright future, and disappointed that this brief dream was over and a future with Lila was absolutely impossible. Lila looked at me nervously, her eyes filled with urgency and pleading. Noah, don't go. Let me explain, okay? I looked up at her, my eyes filled with tears, and said word by word. Lila, let go. Lila's eyes also turned red. She hesitated for a long time before finally letting go of my hand. I pushed her away and walked towards the main entrance. People whispered about me, but spontaneously made a path for me. My heart ached with a sharp, stabbing pain. My love, not yet possessed, was already lost. I had only briefly held my moon, and now she was returning to her starry sky. The tears finally fell, big and heavy. The quiet crowd suddenly became boisterous again. Before I could react, I was pulled into a warm embrace. Lila lifted my face and kissed me urgently, like a parched traveler in the desert finally finding an oasis. Lila's kiss was passionate and desperate, filled with a determined resolve and a desire to devour me whole. I trembled in her arms, my dormant heart beginning to beat violently. Love, unknowing of its origin, deepens with time. Longing is something that is best left untouched. Once touched, it is like a floodgate opening, unstoppable. I wrapped my arms around Lila's neck and pressed myself into her embrace. At that moment, all reason and calculation vanished. I just wanted to kiss my love properly. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Clang! The crisp sound of a glass shattering on the floor broke the spell, startling me and Lila out of our immersion. Seeing the dense crowd of onlookers, I blushed. I never thought my first kiss would be so public. Lila bent down, picked me up, kissed my forehead, and then strode towards the main entrance. I buried my face in her chest, catching a glimpse of the incredibly excited Jake out of the corner of my eye. After Lila put me in the car, she leaned over me again. "Noah, I missed you so much." Her fragmented words were lost in our kisses. Lila and I kissed almost all the way back to the apartment. After she closed the door, she turned and stared at me, her eyes like those of a hungry wolf on the prairie. I looked at the woman before me, and the love in my heart gushed out, unstoppable. I wanted to be closer to her, to possess her completely. I stood on my tiptoes and kissed her. I woke up in the middle of the night. I sat up and looked at Lila, sleeping peacefully with her eyes closed. Her thick eyelashes made her whole face look softer. I touched her face, my heart so sore I was about to cry. We were not from the same world. TV shows and novels are based on reality. So instead of ending up resenting each other because of our different backgrounds, it was better to go our separate ways. At least we would have a sweet and beautiful memory, and she wouldn't think of me with only annoyance in the future. I quietly got up, got dressed, left the key on the dining table, and carefully closed the door. The apartment was Lila's, and the job was arranged by Lila. Just as I had arrived, I left the city with nothing. I went back to my hometown, and life was peaceful and quiet. My job was not far from home. After work, I could eat dinner cooked by my parents, and the three of us would talk about our day and chat about trivial matters. Life was poor but happy. I blocked Lila's phone number and Facebook. At first, she used Jake's phone to call me frantically. After I hung up a few times, she stopped trying to find me. Jake told me that our sudden departure that day had caused a huge uproar in Lila's family. Lila was facing immense pressure from her family, which was probably why she eventually gave up looking for me. This was for the best. We would go our separate ways. But I missed Lila. I missed her like crazy. If longing had a sound, it would be deafening. I threw myself into my work, using countless tasks to fill the void in my heart. After 2 busy months, I suddenly received a wedding invitation from my university class president. "Noah, you have to come. I heard about you and Lila. My God, I can't believe Lila's family is so powerful. Don't worry, she's definitely not coming." Jake was clamoring for me to go with him, saying we hadn't seen each other in a long time. My parents saw that I had been in a bad mood lately and encouraged me to go out and have some fun. I thought about it and decided it would be nice to see my classmates. I stood there staring at the vast sea of flowers, stunned by the dreamlike beauty of the scene. "Jake, did the class president win the lottery? How many millions did she win? Tell me the truth. I won't be jealous." Jake's eyes were wide, his mouth agape, his gaze mesmerized. "Oh my God, just the flowers alone must have cost a few million. What a grand gesture." He then chuckled foolishly, as if he had thought of something. He's gone mad with envy. The class president rushed over, telling me to get a good rest tonight. One of the groomsmen had dropped out, so I was to be a groomsman tomorrow morning. Jake and I strolled through the sea of flowers, looking at the countless blossoms and smelling the intoxicating fragrance. A sour taste in my mouth. I wondered, did the class president's husband spend his entire fortune on this wedding for her? I remember her husband's family was just well off. This must be true love. Jake nodded in envy. This is the wedding every man dreams of. How am I supposed to get married after this? Damn it. That evening, While everyone was having dinner together, the conversation somehow turned to Lila. I always thought that Lila, with her temperament and looks, was extraordinary. She's from a truly wealthy family. I heard her family wanted her to go to a prestigious university abroad, but she refused and insisted on staying in the country. Lila doesn't need a degree to gild herself. She's a shining golden mountain herself. The same people who had once mocked Lila were now singing a different tune. In the end, she and we were from two different worlds. I was woken up early in the morning by Jake. I squinted my half-asleep eyes and saw a group of people rushing into the room. Hurry, hurry. Time for makeup, or we'll be late. Someone pushed me into a chair to do my hair, while someone else straightened my clothes from behind. I was completely bewildered. Are you sure you have the right person? I'm a groomsman. We're not mistaken. The groomsmen's outfits are also very grand. The groom wants the groomsmen to look like princes. The request was a bit outrageous, but on the wedding day, the groom is king. I closed my eyes and let them do their thing, just wanting to crawl back into bed for a nap. All right, you can go change your clothes now. I looked at my handsome self in the mirror, a little dazed. Was it really okay to be dressed up like this? Wouldn't it be too ostentatious? After all, it was the class president's wedding today. The makeup artist pulled back the curtain, revealing a luxurious and vintage-style white suit. The suit was covered in countless tiny diamonds that sparkled dazzlingly under the lights, making it hard to look away. Everyone was captivated by the beauty of the suit, lost in a daze for a long time. Quick, take off your clothes. We're running out of time. The makeup artist was the first to snap out of it and started to pull at my clothes. Are you kidding me? This is a groomsman's suit. A groomsman's suit looks like this? Oh, the other groomsman's suit is even more extravagant than yours. Today's theme is the Prince series. The groom is going to be dressed as a king. While they were talking, a few girls had already started to help me change. I was pulled along and changed into the suit. Looking at myself in the mirror, I was stunned. This was the image I had always dreamed of for myself. In a suit. No, it was even more handsome than I had imagined. Wavy black hair, fair skin, sharp eyebrows, and a luxurious form-fitting suit. At this moment, I looked like a real prince. I was escorted to the wedding venue by the crowd. Jake placed a corsage in my hand and then pushed me onto the high platform. The music started, and a shower of petals fell from the sky. I looked up in bewilderment. In front of me, with red-rimmed eyes and a brilliant smile, was Lila. Step by step, she walked towards me in her white wedding dress, slow and steady, and knelt on one knee. Noah, will you marry me? Everyone started to cheer. Marry her. Marry her. I looked around and saw many familiar faces. My parents were there too. It turned out that the wedding I was attending was my own. I looked at Lila with teary eyes and nodded with a smile. I will. From Lila's perspective, the first time I noticed Noah was at a restaurant. He seemed to be working part-time there, standing at the door in a thin waiter's uniform, looking like a tall, straight poplar tree in the cold winter. It was very cold that day. His face was pale from the cold, and his short, fine hair danced in the wind. I suddenly understood what the boys in my class meant by youthful charm, and at the same time, a sense of pity welled up in my heart. He was always so plain at school. This was the first time I had seen him so well-groomed. I had to admit, he was very eye-catching. I sat in the warm private room, restless, my mind filled with the image of Noah's pale, cold face. So I asked the waiter for a cup of hot cocoa and gave it to him. He looked surprised when he saw me, his big, wet eyes filled with gratitude. His gaze was like a hook, making it impossible for me to look away. Noah, he's interesting. Later, back at school, I found that he seemed very busy, always in a hurry, with endless part-time jobs. He was a hard-working boy from a poor family, very different from the other boys at school who did nothing but play games all day. Rumors were spreading around school that my family had gone bankrupt. Apparently, some classmates' father worked at my family's company and found out that the company was undergoing bankruptcy liquidation. Many people came to ask me for confirmation, and I didn't deny it. It was a less profitable subsidiary under my brother's name. He was planning to take the parent company public abroad, so he was restructuring many of the less efficient subsidiaries. The subsequent developments were very interesting. Many of the people who used to flock around me started to avoid me. No one sent me flowers anymore. Instead, I was met with ridicule. This was a new experience, especially the male students. No one came to give me love letters anymore, which made my life much quieter. But there were also some annoyances. A few boys even came to ask me for things back, saying I should return the gifts they had given me. I had never accepted any gifts, so their requests were extremely annoying. Just as I had dismissed a boy who was asking for his gift back, I ran into Noah. He jogged up to me. What was he here for? To ask for something back too? Had he given me a gift before? I couldn't quite remember. Noah handed me a bank card. In my entire life, this was the first time a boy had offered me money, $3,000, the price of a handbag, but it was his entire savings from 4 years of part-time work in college. I looked at his gentle and determined eyes, so shocked that I forgot to refuse. Noah hugged me. His thin body was pressed against mine, and I could even feel the warmth of his chest. Ugh, what was I thinking? I didn't even hear what he said. He smelled so good, like fresh grass after the rain. His hug made my head spin, unable to think. He finally let go of me, but then he stroked my head and smiled at me. When he smiled, I felt like the world was dark, and he was the only brilliant sunshine. How could he smile at a woman like that? I suspected he was trying to seduce me, but I had no proof. The next day, Noah vanished. He didn't send me a single message or make a single call. Looking at his social media, he seemed to be busy looking for a job and a place to live. Why didn't he come to me? Were a job and an apartment more important than me? Noah really wasn't playing hard to get. I had almost worn out my phone from looking at it, but he still hadn't contacted me. I started to be absent-minded every day. My best friend, Ashley, quickly noticed my strange behavior. She asked me if I was in a relationship. Humph, who in their right mind would get into a relationship? I was just a little worried about a classmate. Had Noah found a job? I told Ashley about Noah. She immediately started screaming, saying I must have fallen for Noah, that I was experiencing my first love. How could that be possible? Ashley sent me a news article. Single man harassed by female landlord. Is society this unsafe? Thinking of Noah's delicate face, I became even more worried. Ashley sent me another news article. Male employee harassed by female boss, fired in retaliation. I called Ashley. Get me a position at your company with a salary of no less than $10,000 a month. Ashley scolded me, saying it was too obvious and he would definitely find out. We finally settled on $8,000. That was my bottom line. I couldn't go any lower. I couldn't imagine how Noah would live on any less. The job was settled the next day. I had someone buy an apartment near Ashley's company. How could Noah live with a roommate with his looks? It was just too unsafe. Noah started working at Ashley's company. I breathed a sigh of relief. I couldn't resist and went to Ashley's company to see him. Waiting downstairs, I found my heart beating incredibly fast, my palms sweating nervously. Something was wrong with me. Seeing Noah running towards me with a smile, I finally confirmed it. I had fallen in love with Noah. Ashley was such an idiot. She actually arranged for Noah's high school first love to be his boss. That woman wore gold-rimmed glasses and had a shrewd, calculating look. They say proximity breeds affection. No, I had to win. I had to move into Noah's apartment. Noah was such a kind-hearted boy. He did as I expected, asking me to move in with him. I had to keep a close eye on this easily deceived boy. I couldn't let him be tricked by other women.